John Hook's Newsmaker starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker. There is a heck of a battle going on in Scottsdale right now over the future headquarters of Axon. That's the homegrown body camera and taser company, formerly known as Taser International. They want to build a sprawling new corporate campus at Hayden in the Loop 101. Some residents, though, don't like the idea, especially 1,900 apartments, a third of which would house Axon workers. Scottsdale is planning a vote on the matter, but the Arizona legislature and the governor put the brakes on that with a new law that would block public votes on such projects. Lisa Borowsky is a newly elected mayor of Scottsdale, kind enough to join us on Newsmaker. Good to see you.
Good to see you, John. Thank you for having me.
Before we get to a setup piece from Ashley Rodriguez, I just want to get your take on what's happened so far. You come in as mayor. All of this was essentially decided by an old council and an old planning and zoning commission. You guys kind of inherited this, correct?
We sure did, and you might know this came back before the council for vote after the November 5th election and before the departure of the outgoing 4 council members. So it's even a little bit worse. It was a lame duck, as they say, council who approved this, and dating back even a little bit further during the election, knowing what a big issue this was and how opposed the general public was to the 1,900 apartment units. Axon actually pulled their application, or at least I should say continued it, put a pause on it, but then brought it back right after the 4 outgoing council members were defeated.
Okay, let's go to Ashley Rodriguez's piece, and I want to say up front, this was done prior to the passage of the bill that effectively blocks any citizen's attempt in Scottsdale to halt the Axon project. This is Ashley Rodriguez right before that vote.
I'm being thrown out, and I'm fighting with every ounce of energy I've got to keep the company here.
Scottsdale native and Axon CEO Rick Smith says his company's board is losing patience with the Taxpayers Against Awful Apartment Zoning Exemptions, or TAZE, and the politicians who support their effort to block the building of the tech company's global headquarters south of Loop 101 on Hayden Road.
Scottsdale originally was designed to be a low-scale community, Western-themed suburban.
Former Scottsdale City Council member Bob Littlefield collected enough signatures to send the issue to voters in 2026. Smith says he's already spent $70 million and 7 years working with Scottsdale on this project. His billion-dollar taser and body cam video company won't wait any longer.
If we leave, we will sell that land, and it will go back to its original zoning, which is industrial. And if that's what local residents want, if you'd rather have $15 an hour warehouse jobs than $300,000 a year tech jobs.
The new headquarters would be a 400,000 square foot complex with restaurants, a hotel, and 6 buildings that would make space for nearly 1,900 new apartments, allowing Axon employees to live on campus. They estimate it would have an economic impact of nearly $40 billion over the next decade.
Asking me to build a headquarters in the middle of the desert with nowhere for people to live is like asking me to build a house with no garage and no kitchen.
He's throwing his support behind Senate Bill 1543, which allows Axon to bypass the election by creating a new zoning ordinance. The ordinance would allow major companies that build corporate headquarters in Arizona to be entitled to build housing for its employees.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to take the will of the Scottsdale voters and just tread all over that and wipe that out.
Axon disagrees, pointing to a new poll that found a majority of Scottsdale voters support the new campus, but says TAZE is using special interest money and out-of-state union influence to organize and pay for its campaign against Axon. Littlefield denies that claim.
If our legislators fix this, it will stick, and it will give us the ability to proceed on our project, and it'll prevent us from getting forced out of the state, which would break my heart.
TAZE has formed a political action committee to fight State Bill 1543, and Axon says if the bill fails, it's going to consider its move by the end of this legislative session this spring, and it's eyeing either Texas or Florida. In Scottsdale, Ashley Rodriguez, Fox 10 News.
Scottsdale Mayor Lisa Borowsky joins me on Newsmaker. Is it true that this would be it? Rick Smith seemed to indicate in that story once the legislature and the governor signed that bill that there would be no recourse for your residents. Is that true or false?
Well, that's false. I mean, of course we have recourse. There's the idea of a constitutional challenge, not only by the city, but by individual residents. And I haven't talked to the opposition group, but it would surprise me if they're not looking at that. And then I've heard people talk about a statewide referendum on this. That's not out of the question either.
This puts you guys in leadership in Scottsdale in a tough spot, because I think pretty much everyone would say Axon is the kind of company you want in Arizona, maybe in Scottsdale, maybe not on that site. If there were not 1,900 apartments connected to this, would this be a no-brainer for you guys?
It is, and it was. So this is a great place for Axon's headquarters. In fact, they applied for the zoning on this 5 years ago, and they were granted that exact what they asked for, and I think they were pleased with it. So, I saw in that piece that Rick Smith said, why would they ask us to put our headquarters there and then deprive us of housing? Okay, that's, I get he's campaigning to get the legislation passed. However, no one asked him to put his headquarters there. He picked the site, bought the land from the State Trust Department, and applied for a campus that did not include any apartments, did not include housing. And then 5 years later, four plus years later, he comes back for the need for housing. Okay, well, housing is one thing, but unreasonably high density is another. And I just have to make the point that during the legislative process, we ran the numbers, and within 5 miles, a 5-mile radius of the Axon site, there were over 21,000 apartments within the 5-mile radius with a 5% vacancy rate. And that did not include the new Optima McDowell project that's bringing another 1,200 units online of perfect housing for Axon type employees.
Their spokesperson for Axon has said that Axon is open to working with neighbors. They've been doing it for years. Everybody wants this project to be a win, not just for the company, but for the people who live nearby. Even though they got this bill through the legislature and the governor signed it to have Axon move forward, are they reaching out to you at all to say, let's try to calm the waters here and maybe modify the project a little bit? Has there been any discussion of that?
So I haven't heard from anyone at Axon, and Rick Smith and I have been in touch previously, so they definitely know how to reach me, and vice versa. And I certainly, and I would know. I haven't heard, as of yesterday, no one from Axon had reached out to the city. So I encourage that. I think there's an opportunity. Look, before this all started, the second round of legislation, because you might recall earlier in the legislative session, they tried some other bills that failed. And in between that time and this legislation being initiated, we actually met and we had productive discussions. And I saw some, light at the end of the tunnel that we might be able to work on a win-win or a compromise that would be attractive to all parties involved. And then the legislation got some wind under its wings, and that was really the end of the discussion.
Yeah, nobody wants to lose a company like that, a homegrown company that's a great success story. It would be a feather in Scottsdale's cap to keep it. They already are headquartered there. This would just be an expansion. Let's take a look at the map for a moment. Of those 1,900 apartments, only a third of those would be used for employees, correct? So the others, I guess, are a revenue stream and a moneymaker for them. Is that the long and short of it?
That's another significant issue. Okay, so there is no requirement. There's no way to enforce that 30% would be used for employee housing, and I believe the number was closer to 20% of what they speculated they would need, although I could be remembering that wrong. Nonetheless, the issue is that there's no enforcement mechanism. So that sounds great, but these would be open market apartments available to everyone. And, you know, from what I understand, Axon was not going to be the developer or the management company on that. So that's, you know, and this bill really takes away any enforcement or any ability for the city to enter into stipulations with Axon, which would be really important for this project. For example,
Mayor, if it had come to a vote, if it comes to a vote in Scottsdale, what do you suspect the outcome would be? Would residents be for or against it?
So it's reading the tea leaves, having gone through a year, 2024 election cycle, where that was the #1 issue on people's minds. People are very much opposed to it. You know, I sat in with Axon and had their consultants say they thought that they would prevail. Well, why didn't they go through the process? That would have been fantastic for them,
So your
right?
point is you want to keep Axon, but you think the voters should have a say on it?
I absolutely believe that democracy is being jeopardized and completely undermined by the legislature's decision to take away what was a perfected right to have an election. The petition process was undertaken. It was successful. They have a right to an election. So I think it's going to be a really big issue for the legislators that voted for it.
Is there any other spot for Axon to go in Scottsdale that would be more fitting in your view?
No, I think this is a great location for them. That's not the issue. And, you know, hopefully we can come to some discussion point where the community can embrace the project and Axon can move forward.
Lisa Borowsky, Scottsdale Mayor, great to see you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
Golf courses are a huge moneymaker for Arizona. But water, what about water use? And how do we manage that? We're going to find out next on Newsmaker. Welcome back on Newsmaker. Golf is an enormous part of Arizona's ecosystem. We are home to over 370 golf courses. That is a lot of turf, and more importantly, it's a lot of water. Rob Collins is the Water Committee Chairman for the Arizona Alliance for Golf, and he was inducted, by the way, into the Arizona Golf Hall of Fame last year. Rob Collins joins me on Newsmaker. Rob, thank you very much.
Yeah, happy to be with you here, John.
It's great to see you. There's so much going on in the golf world, and you know, even locally when guys are playing, we've had changes in turf, we've had changes in watering schedule. How are we doing concerning golf and water? And you know, you hear people all the time worried about that and that it's a big user of water. What would you tell them?
You know, there's a great story behind Arizona golf and water, and it really started about 40 years ago with the Groundwater Act. You know, today in the headlines, oftentimes we hear in some of our neighboring states about turf reduction and taking out turf and things like that. And I'm not sure Arizonans know that we did that 40 years ago, and we did it by regulating the size of the golf course. Golf courses built after 1984 didn't receive water allocation for any acres over 90. And so for these past 40 years, we've saved that water where we hear about others taking out acres. Well, we took them out and we haven't watered them. And so we're way ahead of the curve in that regard. But, you know, we're not stopping there. These last several years, you know, we transitioned from the 3rd management plan to the 4th management plan, and this January to the 5th. And with each of those changes, we've had reductions in our allocations. And so our water use is coming down. And certainly, many of us are doing things on our own beyond that to conserve water. You know, another, I think, important component to this is that water is a significant expense to us. We spend a lot of money on it. So managing it is in our best interest to manage our businesses. Another, maybe not everyone understands, but another factor is wet golf courses are not desirable to the golfer. They don't like them. And, you know, so there's another huge incentive for us to really manage our water and produce the kind of playing conditions that that our users want.
Some of the older courses in Arizona, it's just turf, 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 turf all over the place. And then these newer courses are really becoming target golf courses where it's you hit over desert onto a small patch of grass. Some days it's smaller than others, onto another patch of grass if it's a par 5. And then you're hitting into a green that's surrounded by desert. I mean, it's become very target oriented, and that has reduced turf significantly.
No question about it. And I mentioned the fifth management plan. In the fifth management plan, those older courses, well, their water allocations have been reduced to 90 acres or less as well. So everybody is working from the same system. Many of those older golf courses are looking for ways to significantly reduce their turf footprint. A great example of that is right here with our city course, Papago Golf Club.
Yes, total change.
Shining star for sustainability. They're taking out about 30 acres, and they'll be well below 90. It's such a great example of the opportunities that exist to reduce water use, take out turf, and still have a wonderful golf course.
So, Rob, there's a couple of things that people don't even think about with golf courses. One of them is it reduces urban heat island effect. So you've got a green belt, so that's good because you have areas where it's cooling. It's almost like a park. Stormwater management. Can you talk about that?
Having open areas in urban environments do a number of things, whether it's slowing down the water, the rate that water's moving through the community, producing habitat. I think that's that maybe doesn't get mentioned all the time, but I know at my golf course and every other course I visit, the amount of habitat, natural habitat out there is really significant. And then the cooling effect, of course, all you have to do is walk from the parking lot out into a turf area, and immediately you've cooled down 5-10 degrees. It's so huge.
What about restoring damaged land areas? You think about this with some of the golf courses that have been built on landfills. So these become now a thriving place that was once a wasteland.
Yeah, there are many opportunities for that kind of reclamation to take open space and bring golf back into a community, and certainly there are a lot of examples where that's happened. And you take it from a trash zone to a beautiful park, a golf course, and the whole community gets to enjoy it.
Yeah, we haven't, I know you're not a water quote unquote expert. We've done a lot of shows on water in Arizona, but water in essence is never really lost. Even when it goes down the drain, it's going to be reused in some fashion or introduced back into the ground, and it becomes part of the hydrological cycle. With a golf course, can a case be made that when you're watering a golf course over the course of a year, that's also helping groundwater to be reintroduced into the system?
Sure, and knowing that we're using reclaimed water, if you think about, cities like Fountain Hills or the city of Scottsdale on the RWDS line, there are so many golf courses on that line that are using reclaimed water. And so if you think about it, the water was used once, it's being treated and used again, and potentially making it into the groundwater. So really efficient. And when you think about golf using maybe 2% of the state's water and much of that reclaimed, it really is an efficient system.
But it's what is golf in Arizona? Is it did I hear it's a $20 billion economic bump?
It's so it's a $6 billion economic impact.
Okay.
in here in Arizona. About half of that is from outside the state. But to give everybody some perspective, we're number 4 in the country. We're the number 4 state in economic activity, behind California, Texas, and Florida. So that's in the world of golf, we're really significant. I think Arizona has a lot to be proud of. We're very efficient water users, and I think we're doing a great job.
Let me ask you about overseeding. This is kind of an age-old question. Is overseeding still in vogue, or are there developments now in turf where you might not have to overseed in the winter months where you could leave the turf as is and not have to replant winter rye and then go back to Bermuda in the summer. What's happening on that front?
You know, we're fortunate to have a lot of really talented golf course superintendents here that continue to push the envelope in terms of just new grasses and how they're applied. And so there are a number of renovations that have gone on or are going on now where we're introducing new grasses such as zoysia grass. That's one not many have heard of, but it's a more durable winter grass, or it's more durable when it's dormant than Bermuda grass, and so it holds up better to cart traffic and divots and the activities of golf play, and that's one that's gaining some attention right now.
Does it hold its color?
It holds its color.
Wow.
And you know, many don't know, but oftentimes we use pigments to enhance the color at times through the winter months, and we do that for aesthetics,
Sure.
obviously, and whatnot, and that's been a really effective tool for us. But there are also new Bermuda grasses that are emerging, and some of them are using 25% less water than the older varieties of Bermuda grass.
That is interesting.
We continue to get better and better.
Okay, tell me about irrigation. Are there irrigation breakthroughs? I keep hearing, you know, we might end up with in-ground systems so that you don't have the evaporation issue. That, in other words, it would be a massive drip irrigation system on a golf course, buried in the ground. But boy, that's a maintenance nightmare, isn't it?
You know, so subsurface drip irrigation has been used in agriculture for decades.
Yes.
Very effective. And we've had that resource in golf and turf for a number of years for specific uses. At my course, we've been working with the USGA to develop that concept to expand its use and maybe treat larger areas such as tees, maybe even fairways. And I think we're still a little ways off, but that work is emerging right now. We're working on it. We're trying to figure it out and deliver water to the root zone, to the plant, without exposing it to the atmosphere, which is far more efficient.
Rob, a couple more. Right now, in terms of percentage, I think there were 370 golf courses in Arizona, something like that. It's a big number. What percentage are using treated water, treated effluent, to water their golf course versus either groundwater that they're pumping out at their site or other uses of potable water?
You know, the specific percentage, I can't tell you. I can tell you that many of our golf courses were built there in the 80s, and many of them are tied to communities. And I mentioned Fountain Hills and Scottsdale, and there are other newer communities where that infrastructure was part of the development process. And there's so many golf courses out there now using those resources, and there are many more that would love to have access, and hopefully that's something that we can develop over the coming years.
Final thing, since you're in the golf world in Arizona, you're tied in. When are we going to get a major here? And I'm thinking obviously the PGA, because now that you move the PGA to May, I think that brings Arizona in play. If that were to happen, is anybody talking about it? Is anybody pushing? And can you think of a site, a potential site?
Well, we have some fantastic golf courses, no question about it. I think that we could probably pick out a handful of sites very quickly. And you're right, that the PGA at that time of year certainly would be a great opportunity. I'm not aware of that. I'm very excited, though, that the Mid-Amateur is going to be here in town this September at Troon Country Club. That's a wonderful story, and for those that love to see fantastic golf and it's certainly at a great property, that's going to be a real opportunity here this year.
I want to see a PGA here. I think there's no reason Arizona can't do it.
I agree.
All right. I think you need to spearhead that, Rob. Rob Collins is the Water Committee Chairman for the Arizona Alliance for Golf, and he is a Hall of Famer now in the Arizona Golf Hall of Fame. Congratulations on that, and great to spend some time with you.
Thank you, John.
Rob Collins, thanks. And we'll be back in a moment on Newsmaker. Thanks as always for joining us, and we'll see you next week on Newsmaker.